Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. I'm Gray.
I'm Thomas.
Hello, welcome back, y'all. Today's episode, we're going to focus on the topic of the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Is it a legitimate branch of government? Does it actually serve the purpose of checks and balances? We're going to talk about its recent decisions. And we're just gonna give our take on and general opinion on the court. Now, Thomas, I just wanted to give the audience some context with the difference between like your home country's government and ours. And I wanted to give them that little bit of a view of what the how the judicial systems are. So do they have a Supreme Court in England?
Oh, they do, but it's not anywhere close to. It doesn't. It's not anywhere close to the power that it holds here.
Mhm.
Like in
What
the
kind of
UK,
power does it hold over there?
it has power. It doesn't have power to just override legislation like the way that
Hmm.
it's doing here. It's able to make a statement based on like what it thinks the law, how they interpret the law. But laws and the way we do things go completely through Parliament, or they go through what is called the House of Lords. Um, but yeah, they can't override or completely just dismantle
So they can give like a
precedent.
recommendation on what the job or I mean what the law should be, but not like get rid of it
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, and they'll make statements saying, like this
Mm.
is how the law should be interpreted in this regard, and then, but it can't over. So if Parliament has passed something, it can't
Mm-hmm.
override what the House of Lords has passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Okay.
they'll make a yeah, yeah. So it's not anywhere close to the power that
Mm-hmm.
the Supreme Court here has. Um, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that being said, we're going to talk about its recent decisions. Now back a year ago, actually, I from we're recording on June 30th, 2023. So about a year from a week ago, um, the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And just recently, it overturned affirmative action. It basically decided that businesses can discriminate um, towards the LGBTQI plus community, and it rolled back. I'm blanking on one of them. Thomas, help me out here. What was the other one?
Well, it's like there's three things. Like they
Oh,
they
the
they
debt
basically rolled back
forgiveness.
debt forgiveness. Yeah, the student loan debt. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. So, Thomas, I'm wanting to start with you, and then I'll give my take. But what was your opinion on all this, and what what could be done? Like, can Congress codify all these?
Well, what it shows, and I think a lot of people, there's people that are going out of the way to, they're putting blinders on, and basically they're
Mhm.
saying that Supreme Court is not, it's not political. Like, it's a functioning body of government, and I think it's going to be very hard to argue that this is not a political tool. Like, this is
Mhm.
very much um, like, if it wasn't clear before, it should be clear now that this branch of this judicial branch is being used to circumvent precedent, legal precedent. It's being used to undermine and curtail rights that have already been established.
Mhm.
Um, or with precedent. And it's just a tool that's being used to roll back any progress that's been made in the last sort of 60, 70, 80 years. Um,
Well,
um,
yeah, you're right because it's been used because there's no set number in the Constitution on how many judges there needs to be. There is no set number. We fluctuated from six. We've even had as low as five members on the court. And there's also no set of ethics. There's no rules that they have to follow. They everything was like of goodwill and good moral. And I really think the founding fathers, um, or I'm gonna call them finding criminals, um, they really just I feel like they left that in. So because you can't have actual direct democracy. That's what they believed. They believed that it would be um a way for the poor to actually rise up against them. You got to remember these are wealthy white rich men, like come on guys. You got to remember that. So they're not actually going to serve the people. This is back when only landowning white men could vote. So,
well,
yeah, go
well,
ahead.
look at this past few days before these rulings today. In a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court basically ruled on a case where they're going to allow for the time being democracy to still exist in this country, right? Um, I'm sorry I can't remember the case off the top of my head, but basically it was a 6-3 decision on whether democracy should be still relevant in this country. And if that doesn't ring alarm bells, I don't know what
Wait, they
does.
decided that it shouldn't be relevant?
They decided to protect the democratic elections. There was a case that was taken to the Supreme Court.
Mm-hmm.
Only a few ruled on it a few days ago, a few days before this, and people were writing op-eds saying, conservative court, middle of the lane decisions, acting like, hey, thanks, court, you did something right for once. And then obviously now today, you've just had a complete, you know, truck hit you in the face
Yeah.
with all the things that they wanted to do. They've been kind of praying over to get these kind of cases brought in front of them so they can just roll back
Mm-hmm.
what they want to roll back. But I think, what it really comes down to is that
Mm-hmm.
they see the progress or they see the way this country is going, particularly with youth, particularly with mindset changing, and they're trying to they use there's a lot of nefarious people that are using an undemocratic branch of I call government because this is a political
Mm-hmm.
tool that should not be phrased any other way
Well,
than
yeah,
it is a
you got.
political.
Oh, I just wanted to point out that your point where you said it was undemocratic. It is. They are not elected. They serve for life. They are
Uh-huh.
not elected and they serve for life. What does that sound like? Oh, a monarch. And it's a group of
And
people, so it's an oligarchy. They
yeah,
not
and
the
and
Supreme Court. Oh, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to just say one last thing. The Supreme Court, when every time someone says that this country is an oligarchy, that is that symbol. That group of people is the oligarchy of this country. Go ahead. So sorry.
no, and I what it's being used to do is they're trying to shoot down as much precedent as possible because you know at some point there's going to be an if 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 they fail in a demo, in an election run and
Mm-hmm.
somehow some way some progressive or some socialist or whatever it is happens to just get into the executive office by chance, it just everything falls into place. They'll be able to set enough precedent back and enough like enough they'll be able to say, well, all these things are unconstitutional, that it's just another hurdle. and it's
Yeah.
basically what it basically means is that we're saying that a lifetime judge can overrule. You know, we're meant to have elections every 4 years in this country where the people can choose the direction the country takes. And what we're saying with the Supreme Court is that actually, um, it only takes a few appointments in a lifetime to basically stop and halt all progress, even if that progress wants to happen in 4 years' time. We're
Mm-hmm.
basically going to shove a hurdle in front of it. They're just trying to stop radical change from ever taking place in a short space of time, particularly radical change that benefits the majority as well. Um, and that's what it's feeling like with a lot of these decisions today.
For anyone who says that the Supreme Court they're supposed to be unbiased, they're supposed to be apolitical, they're not supposed to give their political bias or let their political bias affect their decisions. Well, when you're already using this conservative judge or this liberal judge, how can you say that and also say that it's not a political branch of government? It is. Everything is political. If you are working with the government, it's political. It is policy. Um, and another thing is, okay, if it's a political branch of government, let's actually elect these bitches. Let's elect them and set term limits. Um, and do it that way then. Because, one person should not be able to fill like 3 slots. It's just, are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, and I think we bring it back to the decisions that have been made today. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, let's look
Well, yeah,
what
let's
the
actually
like what
go. I was just gonna quickly say, let's go down and give our takes on each of the decisions, starting with affirmative action. Um, I just wanted to get your take on that particular case.
Well, I mean, you said it yourself just now about judges are meant to be non-partisan and made to make decisions that look at the law, and all this does, they're really doing it to protect esteemed colleges, and they want a particular class of people coming through those colleges. And look at the top branches of government in this country, right? And how many of those positions are filled from people who came from those esteemed colleges and those recognized institutions. And you start to understand really why they wanted to shoot this down. They don't want anybody out of a particular demographic or class to ever get into these particular seats. And this is a way to restrict that if the majority of those seats, come from these principal colleges, in a better words. Um, so yeah, it's a way to I just find it hilarious that not only did they say a business can now discriminate against people with differing
Mm-hmm.
beliefs to them, but they're also saying schools can also they're also saying schools can discriminate as well, um, just based on what? I just think it's
Mm-hmm.
so partisan, it's so obvious what they're doing, um, that anyone who looks at this institution should not be thinking that this is legitimate.
Yeah.
But yeah,
My take on these decisions, starting with the affirmative action, I just think this is just it's a slippery slope. Um, you know, look at California. California, affirmative action was taken away in the 90s. There was a 50% drop of the admission of black and brown students. A 50% drop. And people are saying, well, it's not fair, you're just getting in for your race. You don't think that they're looking for the ones with the best grades? Are you kidding me?
But
You're really just gonna
you
say
want,
that they just got in just because they're black?
you want to talk about affirmative action? Let's talk about the fact that 43% of Harvard, the people who go to Harvard a year, are people from the legacy enrollees. So they're
Yes,
people.
let's talk about legacy enrollment because I'm so done with that shit.
So that if you want to talk about affirmative action, that is affirmative action. You're basically
Hmm.
just saying these people, "Look, we're just going to let these people go to this institution, not based on grade, but based on the fact that, oh, your father went to this institution, or oh,
Or they
you know,
built a wing in their name or something.
that's that's the type of affirmative action that we should be going. Yeah. Um, So yeah, I just think again it comes back to class, comes back to race, comes back to
Hmm.
just they want to select minority pool of people they want to pull from to fill these institutions because it benefits them. And
Hmm.
like I said, look at the top branches of government and look at the schools and colleges these people come from. The UK goes for a similar problem. The majority of Conservative prime ministers and Conservative MPs all come from the same select schools. They come from Eton College, they come from Oxford University, they come from these esteemed, prestigious schools, and only a select few of, there's only maybe 3 or 4 schools that
Hmm.
all these people come from, right? And so that is a way of filtering. We're filtering out who we want in these positions of power by using these institutions as a way to do it. And what does killing affirmative action do? It stops any undesirables and what they deem undesirable to be getting into these positions of privilege. They don't want
Hmm.
people from the outside coming into
Well,
these positions.
education is a great equalizer. It really is. You know, you get an education, you can, I mean, not to fall into that whole American dream bullshit, but it does open doors. I mean, I only have my associates right now. If I did not go to college, I would not be where I am at. I am today. And I'm not just saying college, specifically like trade schools too, you know. If you learn a trade, you can make at least 60K a year. At least.
Which,
And then
which
oh, go ahead.
this is a good segue to go on to the next decision they did today, which was kill student debt relief. Um, because this again, this is a good example of like you said, education is a good tool to it really can propel someone out of
Mm-hmm.
financial hardship. Or it just propels them into a
But once you
different
got the
possibilities.
degree, that's how they
Once you've
get
got, yeah,
you.
debt, the debt trap, and that's what we have right now: a debtor's prison with student loans. Because what's happening
Mm-hmm.
is there are people who are retiring in this country who are going into for like literal they're having issues with debt where they can't afford to make payments in retirement,
Mm-hmm.
and they're basically in collections because they can't afford to make these student loan repayments. And I argue that this type of this loan system is a debtor's prison. It's to stop people from being able to get out of their pre-existing tax bracket. They don't want people to be
Mm-hmm.
getting that financial freedom. They don't want them to have that, the freedom that comes from, the education gets them the better job, the better income, but at the same time, you want to keep you where you are. And I argue that this is what it's really doing. It's just keeping people in this poverty state, and
Mm-hmm.
keeping them where they want people to be. And yeah, well, anyway, let's
I'm
talk
in
about
$13,000 in debt. That's all I
Yeah,
gotta say. And I'm trying to be a
yeah,
teacher, and that's gonna be
yeah,
fun. I
yeah.
have to, for those who are just listening to this, I'm doing a little dancey dance while I'm also being sarcastic. So yeah. Anyway, um, and then the last one was the one really wanted to get my take on was the businesses allowing businesses to discriminate. All of these cases really are connected because you know they're all inherently racist. They're all just a way to um oppress people. If you guys aren't seeing it yet, I mean, you really need to consider, like, I don't know, just wiping your eyes clean or go to the ear doctor and get it unclogged or something, okay, guys? Because it's right there in front of us at this point. Um, but my true take on this particular case though, um, way to do it at the end of Pride Month, guys. Like really, like the timing. That's like my thing. I was like, really? You do it now? Okay.
I think obviously I'm not part of the LGBTQ community, but looking I think seeing what's happened, particularly this year and this month's reaction and the just a slow crawl into where we are now, and seeing like what's happening with trans people, not just in America but in the UK and around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and the just egregious like attempts to roll back like progress, and just seeing in fact just seeing like even when LGBTQ sloganing or advertising is used in capitalist businesses, and seeing the hate campaigns and backlash to even just
Mm-hmm.
towards that, and seeing what happened to Dylan Mulvaney with Bud Light, and seeing like just there's so many things. I think we can safely say that rainbow capitalism, it just really proves that rainbow capitalism is just not working. It's not the solution. And it never was. No, and like this really kind of wraps up where we're at. That
Mm-hmm.
now we're just basically turn back the clock on, just like things like the Civil Rights Act, and like
Mm-hmm.
we're basically going to say that now businesses can just openly just discriminate against
Mm-hmm.
people that they don't agree with again. And I think about like some of like the old like drinking establishments where you used to see signs like just slurs in the bars saying like no homo or just get out, or like, and they were just okay with like
No
having that visible.
homo.
And it's just and it's just like if you actually look back on some of these old establishments and the interviews, like some of these old interviews, like they were basically saying that they won't take these signs down unless they're legally obligated to. And I think people need to understand that the reason, like, first, free speech, and there's this whole hypocrisy of like you know First Amendment rights, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you can just openly and publicly discriminate against people that like you just happen to just decide, what, I don't agree with their existence. And it's profound to me.
Yeah.
It's absolutely disgusting. I think if if you're the argument from the dissenting judges, well, the three that dissented, was that if this is a public business and you're selling to the public, like, then it's this is a slippery slope. Like, we're basically
Mm-hmm.
suggesting that the you're just going to allow public entities to just discriminate freely because it's supposedly free speech.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what it's meant. That wasn't what the First Amendment was meant to do. The First Amendment was meant to stop the government from jailing you,
Yeah.
right? This,
Yeah,
this
because printers were literally being thrown into prison.
Um, so yeah, coming back to the actual case, uh, we need to remind ourselves that the case that they ruled on today was from a case that didn't really actually ever exist. In fact, this case came from Colorado, and basically it all started because this bitch, Miss Smith, right? Excuse my French, like basically decided she looked at the Colorado laws to do with discrimination and basically went, I feel attacked because I feel like I can't do my Christian messaging on my shitty web design page. So you know what? I'm gonna go and basically just sue the government of Colorado because I feel like I can't be a dumb bitch.
Imagine that is the epitome of privilege. Like, wait a minute. Gay people exist, and okay, I'm gonna stop that from happening. Like,
But this sets a
wow.
precedent. It sets a precedent because now we're saying that the
Hmm.
Supreme Court can just decide to rule over a case that is non-existent. This case doesn't exist. It never happened. These people
Yeah.
didn't go into her web design business and order messaging that she didn't agree with. It never existed. This is just a made up, like, this is just in a, that meme of like conservatives around a campfire and drawing scary animals and fucking setting themselves alight and going, I'm being attacked. It's literally that. It's just you're making your own demons. Like you're just making your
Mm,
own, like, all in your mind. All of
yeah.
this is all made up. Everything.
And they call us the snowflakes. And they call us the snowflakes. All right, folks, that
Um,
concludes another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. I'm still gray.
Thomas.
All right, we'll see you next week. Take care, folks.